participate virtually this evening. I'm going to ask David Little, and I guess Bob Wilkinson to chair the first part of the meeting, to review the minutes and to hear the first case. So Bob, if you would, please.
Okay. So our first case is number 2026.
Bob, I think let's review the minutes first.
Oh, we want to do the minutes first? Okay. I
Yeah.
don't have the agenda. These are the minutes from both, we have two sets of minutes, I think, don't we?
Well, if you have the agenda there, those.
I don't have the agendas here. Do you have
We
the
have an agenda.
I have, it doesn't appear on my agenda, Jerry.
It's not on this.
It-
It says review meeting minutes from February 18th,
All right.
only just
And
one.
I didn't get the minutes.
Well, they were sent out
Yeah,
with
we
the memos from Elizabeth Jenkins.
Yeah, we got them in email.
That's all right. All right. Well, why don't we, since we don't have them, why don't we put that off till,
Well, hold on, Jerry, I have them. Did you get them, Sibel?
Yes, I did.
All right,
Yeah.
Matt, do you have the minutes?
I have the minutes and I move their approval.
Do you
I
have a
second that.
All those in favor, that'll be a roll call vote, Sibel?
Yes.
I abstain.
David's abstaining, aye?
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now we'll hear case number 2026-03 for Scott and Kathleen Smith for property located at 23 Hidden Valley Road. All right.
So, for the record, I'm recusing myself from this hearing. Hello there.
Hello.
For the record, would you introduce yourself, please, and make your presentation?
Could you introduce yourself, please?
You betcha. Good evening. My name is Scott Smith, and this is my wife Kathleen Smith. We are the owners of 23 Hidden Valley Road and 25 Hidden Valley Road as well. Kathleen is a retired kindergarten teacher, and I'm retired from my career in information technology. We owned a house in Chatham for about 30 years, and in 2023 we made the decision to buy a multi-generational house to live together with Kathleen's parents. So the four of us live in Orleans. That decision to buy a new house brought us together to our house at Hidden Valley Road. Over the past couple of years, we have done a number of inside renovations to make the home function for our needs. About a year ago, we started planning for the projects that are in front of you this evening. Kathleen and I have had a bit of a journey learning about and navigating the permitting process. We have never been through this before, and we're very happy to have arrived at this point tonight. We do want to thank the many people at Town Hall that have given us such patient, knowledgeable, and friendly help in getting to this point in the process. Now I'll jump into the application. We are here this evening to request a special permit under Orleans zoning bylaw, paragraph 164-3C1B for two related projects. The first project is a modest expansion of an existing deck on the west side of the house. The second is the construction of a 10 by 15 foot one-story pantry addition connected to the kitchen on the north side of the house. Before filing for this, we reviewed the proposal with the building commissioner, Walters, and to make sure we were following the correct process, and based on that discussion, we submitted this special permit application. Our son Alex Weissite may be joining remotely this evening, and is an attorney available for if the board has any questions on zoning or any other clarifications of that nature. Peter Barnard, who is the builder for our pantry addition, is also present if the board has any construction questions. In our application, we submitted 3 attachments prepared by Ryder Wilcox. Attachment 1 is the existing conditions plan showing the current structure of the properties. Attachment 2 shows the proposed changes for both projects and the elevations for the pantry. And attachment 3 is a stamped plot plan prepared by Ryder Wilcox also. This plan identifies the existing house and shows the location of both the deck expansion and the pantry expansion addition. As we understand it, the home and existing deck are considered to be lawfully pre-existing non-conforming structures relative to the required 25-foot setbacks. This was confirmed in the discussion we had with Commissioner Walters. The northwest corner of the existing deck is approximately 21.5 feet from the north property line and approximately 23 feet from the west property line as shown on the stamped plot plan that we've submitted. As shown on the new plot plan, the existing deck currently sits about 2 feet within the western setback, and the proposed expansion extends that condition by approximately 6 feet along the lot line that we share with 25 Hidden Valley Road. Kathleen and I also own the lot at 25 Hidden Valley Road, which has recently been determined to be unbuildable. Along the north property line, the existing structure is approximately 21.5 feet from the boundary, and the pantry addition brings the northwest corner to approximately 18.8 feet, with an increase of about 2.7 feet in that corner only. The amount of increase in nonconformity is summarized in notes 1 and note 2 in the application that we've submitted. As I mentioned, we also own the adjoining lot to the west at 25 Hidden Valley Road, which has been determined to be unbuildable. Even with the proposed expansion, the deck remains outside the 100-foot conservation buffer, which we reviewed briefly with Mr. Janelle in Conservation. He indicated that Conservation did not have to be involved in this application. The wetlands edge and buffer area are also shown on the stamped plot plan that we submitted. At this point, I'd like to provide just a little more detail about the 2 projects. The deck expansion project is a 6-foot expansion of the existing deck along approximately 30 feet of its length. The expansion begins at the northwestmost corner of the deck and extends for about 30 feet towards the backyard, right along our driveway. There's a diagram that illustrating this in the second attachment showing the layout of both projects. This appears on the plot plan as well. The pantry is an addition that's 10 by 15 feet, about 150 square feet, located on the north side of the dwelling. It will be accessed directly from the kitchen. If the board looks at attachment 2, the proposed first floor plan shows how the pantry connects to the existing kitchen. The space is one story and will be used for kitchen storage, preparation space, a second refrigerator, and a recycling center. Only the northwest corner of the pantry extends into the 25-foot setback, with the majority of the addition remains outside of the 25 feet. The addition does not add bedrooms or increase occupancy. The addition also closes an existing kitchen window facing north, which will improve the privacy between our home and our neighbor to the north. We chose this location because the pantry connects directly to the kitchen so it can function as intended. As shown on the first floor plan in attachment 2, any other location would require significant reconstruction of the kitchen and was not practical for us to consider. We believe this location represents the least intrusive viable option. As proposed, the projects do not increase traffic, occupancy, parking demand, or residential intensity. The addition is modest in scale and visually subordinate to the existing structure. and both projects remain outside of the 100-foot wetlands buffer as shown in the stamped plot plan. We believe and we understand that the board's consideration to be whether the proposal was substantially be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Based on the modest scale, the lack of change of use, and the limited extension of existing conditions, we believe that the proposal satisfies the standard. For those reasons, we respectfully request that the board grant the special permit. All the measurements and locations discussed this evening are shown on the stamped plan and other accompanying drawings, and we are happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Before we talk to the board members, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this? Or do we have anybody on the web that wants to speak to this? We do have a letter from Davis Walters explaining just what you've said, that it does conform, or it doesn't conform, and therefore it's appropriate that you apply for a special permit. Isabel, do you have any questions?
My only question is, do we not differentiate between building and deck for side setbacks? Like the building corner is 25.7, as it is now. The deck is 21.5. So basically, the special permit is based on the deck being non-conforming, but the building is conforming.
I think both, if I recall. Davis could weigh in on that, but I think that both the building and the deck are non-conforming.
That's what we've been told.
Yeah. Is that the case, Davis?
That was my view based on the information that was provided. I actually didn't see the site plan from Stephanie until after the Smiths decided they were ready to submit their permit, which is why in my letter I did say that a variance may be required instead of the special permit. So so it's on the board to decide if they're willing to grant to include the deck in the structure in the house as the same structure, or suggest to the Smiths that they apply for a variance in the alternative for the addition.
Because the front has a violation, I could see that, but it looks like the side, this may constitute a new violation if we differentiate building to deck.
No, an attached deck counts as part of the structure. We don't let people build decks right up to the property line in the setback. It's attached to the house.
The issue is the pantry.
Right.
Well, the issue is both.
Yeah, right, the issue is both, right.
The existing deck gets them the pre-existing non-conforming status, which allows them to go to the special permit route.
Right, but the deck doesn't. I mean, the pantry doesn't. The pantry, isn't the pantry a new nonconformity? There's no nonconformity on that lot line. There's no existing nonconformity on that lot line.
Correct, but the structure itself, because of the deck, is already pre-existing non-conforming.
But this pantry is a new addition
Correct.
to itself. Oh, so the structure, so the fact that it's attached to a non-conforming structure, it becomes a non-conforming, it becomes an intensification of a non-conformity.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I have no questions.
Nor do I.
Then I'll move to grant the special permit as requested.
Second.
Isabel?
Yes.
Bob, yes. Jerry?
Yes, also.
Matt?
And yes. Yes.
That was
Great.
more like getting a filling there right now, wasn't it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That might be the best homeowner presentation we've ever seen.
I agree, Matt. All right, David, I'm handing the phone back to you.
That's awesome.
I'm okay.
You're taking the next one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, case 2026-04, John H. Fearing IV has applied for a special permit as set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, under the Orleans zoning bylaws, Section 164-44, building coverage to exceed 4,000 square feet.
I need to recuse on this one. Do we have 4 members that are hearing this?
We do.
Okay.
I just need to
Thank you.
disclose that my son is a consultant for Wilkinson Ecological Design. However, he'd be the first to tell you that he understands that my obligation as a zoning board member is to the citizens of Orleans, not to secure work for him, and as a consequence, I feel I can be impartial.
So, please introduce yourself.
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert DeWar here with Bracken Engineering. On behalf of the Ferring family of Ferring Namakoya LLC, the owners here of
So
199.
if I could just interrupt for one section, Rob.
Certainly.
An approval from our board requires 4 out of 5 members. It's a supermajority. And we only have 4 members available this evening. So when that is the case, we give the applicant the opportunity, when we get close to the end, if things don't seem to be going in your direction, we give you the opportunity to continue it.
Sure.
When there might be a 5th member available to vote. I just wanted to let you know that.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Please proceed.
Okay, so again, Robert DeWar here on behalf of the Ferring family. We're here to respectfully request a special permit under Orleans zoning bylaw, section 164-44. That is for building coverage greater than 4,000 feet on a parcel. So we have an existing parcel here at 199 Namakoya Road. It lies on the north side of Little Pleasant Bay and is fronted to the north on Namakoya Road, as well as undeveloped paper street known as Kendrick Road that falls on the eastern side of the property. Kendrick Road contains a walking path down to Beach Stairs. The parcel lies within our zoning district. We don't need to go through the requirements for the R zoning district, I don't believe, but we do have an existing single-family dwelling, 4-bedroom, single-family dwelling on the parcel currently today. The applicants are proposing to raise this single-family dwelling and replace it with a new 7-bedroom, single-family dwelling. The new proposed dwelling is designed to set back kind of into the hill that the current dwelling sits up on. So there would be a lower level that is partially below grade, and then extending up to sort of an upper level bit on top of that. It's a bit of a unique design where the lower level provides sort of a deck, and it kind of matches the grade of the backyard with two, essentially almost 2 separate protrusions that act like 2 separate cottages or houses that rise above the lower level that are all connected by the lower level itself. The proposed dwelling conforms to all the zoning requirements, such as the front yard setback. We have an 88.2 front yard setback, and that is to a proposed a proposed detached garage. We have 26.2 foot side yard setbacks on each side, and we have a 78.2 foot setback to the coastal bank, which does meet the zoning regulations of 1.5 times the building height. We are under the 15% building coverage for the lot. We are currently at 10.2%. The building coverage total between the house and the garage is about 6,355 square feet. So we are over the 4,000 square foot threshold. The property has gone in front of Conservation Commission. It was approved by the commission on the February 3rd hearing. And that is because we are within, there are a number of resource areas on the lot, such as coastal resource areas with a coastal bank, as well as some inland resource areas up above. As we look at special permit criteria and providing evidence that we're no more detrimental to the character of the neighborhood, as well as other criteria, we can go through and evaluate some of the criteria. So we have the adequacy and the suitability of the site. The site is large, it's about 60, the total site area is about 77, a little over 77,000 square feet. We do have 62,106 square feet of upland buildable area. So that site is large. It does support a structure of this size, and it's located in a neighborhood of similarly sized larger structures on larger wooded lots such as this. Impacts to any traffic flow and pedestrian safety. The property is located on an existing paved road. It has an existing driveway. The proposed dwelling is going to maintain that driveway. They'll be doing some work on it, but the driveway location is going to remain the same, and they're actually increasing the available parking on site by quite a bit. So the existing parking right now is quite tight. It's, once you get more than one or two cars in there, it's very difficult to maneuver, so they're increasing the size of that. So there should be no detriment to any impact of traffic flow and pedestrian safety. Impact on the neighborhood visual character. There's quite a bit of vegetation on the lot already that is proposed to remain, particularly between the proposed dwellings and Namaquoit Road, as well as the Kendrick Road side. And it should be noted that the Ferring family also owns 189 Namaquoit Road next door, and there's quite a bit of a vegetated buffer between the two parcels right now that's proposed to remain. And indeed, actually, some additional plantings and trees are proposed along that property line to provide even more screening. From Pleasant Bay, and I do have some other visuals here. Let's pull the right one. So looking back from Pleasant Bay, the house is being pulled away almost 18 feet from the coastal bank, further away from the bank compared to the existing dwelling. And the house does rise up. It is taller than the existing dwelling, but because it pulls away from the bank, your visual views from Pleasant Bay itself will remain relatively the same in terms of your angle of viewing, like the ridge line. Additionally, there's quite a bit of restoration work proposed in the buffer zones of the bank that will provide additional screening from the water to the proposed house. In terms of adequacy of sewage disposal, water sources, and drainage, we are proposing a new 7-bedroom Title V compliant septic system for the lot. Additionally, the lot's serviced by an existing on-site private well, and any stormwater associated with the structure is going to be piped directly to dry wells for infiltration. Any stormwater on the front side of the house with the driveway, just pull my site plan back again. Stormwater from the driveway area will either drain overland. Towards the north, there's an existing low point on the site, or it will be captured through a catch basin and piped over again to the low point on the site for further infiltration. Adequacy of utilities and other public services. The site serviced from overhead electric from Namaquoit Road. That is to remain, that they're going to be utilizing, I believe they're putting in a new utility pole to bring the service in partially, and then they can run it underground from that new pole to the proposed building. it's an existing developed road, so it'll continue to provide any kind of access for emergency vehicles or any other public service style vehicles. In terms of noise and litter, there's no proposed change in use. It is an existing single-family dwelling, and it's going to be proposed, the new dwelling will continue as a single-family dwelling. So there will be no increase in noise associated with the proposed use. And then during construction, there will be, any of the work during construction will happen during, appropriate construction hours, and any litter on site will be contained with an on-site dumpster, and there'll be daily inspections to make sure there's no excess litter at the end of every day. So finally, any impacts on groundwater quality and recharge volume and the water quality of coastal and fresh surface bodies of water. Again, we are proposing the installation of a new Title V compliant septic system that's sized appropriately for the dwelling. That would be 7 bedrooms. The system actually is pushed a little bit further away from the coastal resource areas compared to the existing system. The stormwater, again, is all being recharged on site. And then, stormwater, excuse me, not to reiterate the stormwater part again, but we are recharging all stormwater on site. So the goal of the project really is to, again, the Ferrings own the property next door. They have a large family of adult children with their own family, so the goal is to create a new generational dwelling here that can support their growing family, so they can enjoy their summers down in the Cape. So with that, I would like to open up to the board for any questions you guys may have.
Thank you.
Glad to answer.
Isabel?
No questions.
Bob?
I'm not at all comfortable with it. I'm a regular user of Pleasant Bay, and I'm very, very familiar with the property. I sold it to the folks that, many years ago, that sold it to the Ferrings. It's just too big. I think it should be, well, there are two things that I observed. The residents of Orleans have said that the property in excess of 4,000 square feet needs to come to us because they really don't want them to be in excess of 4,000 square feet. This property is well in excess of 4,000 square feet, and it will be very, very noticeable from the water, just as the Ferrings' current house is. And for starters, I don't think it should be within 100 feet of the top of the bank. It's just too much of an impact on Pleasant Bay. There's too much of that going on, and I just, as a citizen in town, I'm not comfortable with it.
Jerry?
Yeah, I spent some time on this, because like Bob, my first instinct was it's very large. And I went to the assessor's maps and looked at the neighborhood. It is surprising, I did not know that 189 was owned by the applicant. That house all by itself stands out as completely out of character with the neighborhood. If you look at I don't know what's north or south there, but if you look at 189, I guess it's going south. The house next door is the second biggest house on that bay, on that shoreline, and it's 4,400, which is a big house for Orleans standards. The next one down is 2,048. If you go the other way, north from the proposed lot, the house next door to that is 2,695 square feet. The next one is 2,276 square feet. The next one is 3,900 square feet. So you've got a shoreline with one gigantic house, and now the owners of that gigantic house are looking to build another gigantic house, which will really, we're charged with maintaining the neighborhoods and the keeping of the size of the neighborhood. I guess I'm sympathetic with Bob that, and when I first saw this, it looked like a boarding house. It looked like a guest house. You've got a wing of six bedrooms above each other, and, you know, so they'd have 13,000, two buildings of 13,000 square feet, which would more than equal all the rest of the houses along that bank. I have trouble with the size of it.
So, one comment that I have is that, and I don't know this for a fact, but when you look at 164-21A Note 5, if you exceed 4,000 square feet, it requires a special permit. And I've often wondered, how did we come up with the 4,000 square feet? And what I have deduced is that when this bylaw change was added, that we had 40,000 square foot zoning. And someone probably determined that, well, what's a reasonable amount of lot coverage? I think someone probably determined that 10% was a reasonable amount of lot coverage. And 10% of 40,000 square feet is 4,000 square feet. So that being said, we have a 77,259 square foot parcel here, and they're asking for 10.2% coverage. So my perspective is that the 10.2% is kind of coming in with how I've often felt this portion of the zoning bylaw was created. They're kind of in line with 10% of 40,000 square feet, which is 4,000, or 10% of 77,000 square feet would be, no, 10% of the buildable upland, which is 62,000 square feet, is 6,210, and we're at 6,355. So that being said, and given the fact that you can't see it from the street, they're moving it further back from the top of the coastal bank, so the height of the dwelling from the views on Pleasant Bay does not increase. I'm inclined to support this project.
Let me just retort to some extent to that, David, if I may, or ask your, you know, on the criteria for special permits, 164-44C, special permits may be granted when it has been found that the use involved will not be detrimentally established or future character of the neighborhood and the town when it has been found that the use involved will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the chapter, and shall include consideration of each of the following. It goes by the 8 criteria. I just don't know that two 6,000 plus square feet houses are in character in keeping with the harmony and future character of the neighborhood.
Oh, and I don't disagree with you on that, Jerry. I just, my point is, you can't see it from the road. They've maintained, they're pulling it back, so the view from the water is going to be about the same. So I'm just one member. I
want to pursue this because philosophically, I don't like that, you know. First of all, there's tremendous implications for the town, you know. If you limit waterside properties to 4,000 square feet, you're going to greatly limit the value of that property. And this is a big lot, and I think people want to pay a lot of money. They pay a lot of money to be on the water. They should get a big house. But one of the things so there's all kinds of conflicting issues here, but one of the problems is that 4,000 square feet was done in 1987 and was added to the code. And certainly houses have changed over that 39 years, 40 years, the size of the house. So, but I go back to your justification that it came out of a 4,000 being 1/10 of a 40,000 square lot. So your position is that even back in 1987, 4,000 was not thought to be a big house?
No, my position is that if you look at other zoning bylaws,
Yeah.
they don't have a trigger that like Orleans does. They have a scale, depending on the size of the lot, you are allowed a certain percentage of coverage.
Yeah.
And that's, go ahead, Bob.
I understand David's logic, I don't totally agree with it. I guess the way I would come around to it is that if you went to the voters of Orleans today and said, would you like to have houses bigger than 4,000 square feet in Orleans, I think the overwhelming vote would be no. But they can have this very big house. All they have to do is shrink it by a couple of 100 feet, and they might be able to convince everybody that they're now below 10%, and so on and so forth. I agree, you can't see the house well at all. I know the area very well, but you sure can see it from Pleasant Bay. And what's worse is the channel that gets you out into, from Little Pleasant Bay, where the subject is, out to Big Pleasant Bay and the Atlantic beyond, runs very close to that bank. It's not on the other side of the bay, it's right below that bank, and you see it. And their current house is very large. I think if you ask most voters in town, do they like it, they'd say, no, it's too big. And I don't think we should be adding another big house right next to it. There's no need for it. Could I ask you, how many bedrooms in the Fairings' current home?
I believe it's in the range of 5 or 6. I'd have to double check that. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
I just, again, it's my job to try and reflect what I think the voters of Orleans want, especially along their shorelines. It's just, to me, it's too much, but that's just my opinion. This is a very large house replacing a very small house. That if you look at, I'm so pleased you brought the picture. That's Old Cape Cod right there, but this thing it's just really big. So my feeling is if we want to approve it, we should push it way back. They're still going to have a huge view, no matter what. But they want the best of both worlds. They want to have this huge house and have it as close to the water as possible. I can't live with it.
Conservation did approve it.
I don't care about that, David.
No, well, you said you wanted to see it beyond the 100-foot buffer. That's
Right,
not our purview.
and I don't know why conservation approved it. And again, that's a head scratcher to me, but they did, but that's their job. They have to look at it purely from an environmental point of view.
Okay.
We have to look at it from, I would argue, an aesthetic point of view.
So for the client's benefit, Sibel, do you want to comment,
Yeah, in terms of.
chime in?
I know that from sitting on this board, a lot of projects we've approved larger than 4,000 square feet, even, of this size. This particular project, I think it's unusual, it's more modern, and the way that they did it is they tried to scale it down a little bit so that it's in different volumes, and it has a base, but it doesn't look like it's fitting perhaps with the neighborhood, if you look at it in terms of style. But we're not supposed to look at aesthetics or style. And I agree with you, Bob, that it easily could have been pushed back and it wouldn't have lost anything, but that's not that's not what we review here, so we can't really make that point either. So in terms of the size of it, I agree that it's a large house, and it's very visible from the water side. But given past projects of a similar lot size and the projects that we approved, I don't think that this is really that way out if we look at, precedents and what we did in the past. So I feel comfortable enough. I wish that it was smaller because it will stand out. And it will change the water view, not the street view, but the water view. But I don't see, why I wouldn't approve it.
So it appears that you kind of have,
David, if I may, please, let me ask, So Bill, I agree with you. I think 4,000 is an unreasonable number for property along the water. And I think we've approved a lot of them. I think we approved a lot of 5,000s. I don't recall ever. I mean, their first house was a 2000, the year 2001, before I was on the board. But I've been on the board a long time. I don't think we've ever approved it.
You haven't approved 6,000?
I don't think we've ever approved anything 6,000s. I don't think we've been asked to, frankly. And I think we've had a lot of 5,000s and a lot of 4,000 pluses. We have a lot of 4s between 4 and 5 and some 5s. But I don't think we've ever had, I can't recall an 86,000 square foot house. And I was I was shocked, frankly, when I saw the size of it was approved in 2000 next door for the family. So my point is, I don't like being put in this position, because I generally think you buy the land, you should be entitled to do what you want to do. But when we have this bylaw, which, as Bob says, is the expression of the town meeting. And I agree with Bob, there's no way the town meeting would say that 4,000 is not a big enough house. But that's reflective of the rest of the people who live in town, who live in much smaller houses. So I'm sort of on the horn of the dilemma here. I don't like being in this position. I don't like saying no. I'm open to houses of larger than 4,000 for sure along the water, almost as a matter of right. I think 4,000 ought to be an amended number. I don't think there's any chance we could do it. But so, I guess I'm open to looking at this again. I'm not as set in opposition as Bob is, but I do think that it surprises me too. It surprises me that none of the neighbors have come forward and said this changes the character of our neighborhood. I think this is other times when we've approved 4,000 plus and 5,000, neighbors have come out.
The neighbors attended the Conservation Commission hearing.
Did they?
Yes.
Were they supportive?
They had no comments.
You know, I mean, that's another thing. We're sitting here and the neighbors, we're protecting the neighborhood, supposedly, but the neighbors don't seem to care.
How about in terms of, Jerry, if I could ask, how about the, 15% rule? It is a large lot. And
Yeah,
if you look at, just the upland alone,
Yeah.
As
We have,
Dave
the only place we ever come close to 15% is up in Nauset and the tiny lots around the old beach communities. When you get into South Orleans, you never come close to 15%.
Right. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes, not me, David.
Davis, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I in the interest of broadening the discussion a little bit, I don't mean to put the cart before the horse in any way, but I'm wondering if the presenter could possibly explain a little bit the nature of such an unusual floor plan. And the reason I'm asking is that if you look carefully at the 3 bedrooms, sort of symmetrically placed one after the other, they appear to be isolated from one another. And one of the basic criteria of a single-family dwelling is that the entire space, upstairs, downstairs, communicates. If all the different spaces communicated, I'm wondering if he could perhaps discuss, depending on how familiar he is with it, perhaps discuss the unusual layout that we see here.
Yeah, I would love to. I think I would, there's a couple of comments that I would like to make in general. In regards, just to answer your inquiry, Davis, in regards to the floor plan, it is a unique floor plan. The idea behind that, again, is that the Ferring family is growing. They have adult children with their own families at this point, and the idea being that they can all commune in this space, but allow each individual family to have their own sort of private space that they can recuse themselves to if they need to. So that's why each sort of bedroom down in this lower level is sort of self-contained. They have a bedroom and they have their own bath. And then there's, if you look, there's an additional bedroom that's sort of off with its other own bathroom as well. And that, So the idea being that these families can have kind of some privacy as they come down to vacation together, when they're not all crammed together into, one house, like an open floor plan style. In regards to a couple of other comments that have been made, one thing to note is that there is another house on the street at the end of the road, 13 Kingsbury. I was also looking at assessor's records. That one looks to be about 6,400 square feet. So there are two other, including the Ferring's house and this one, there are two other houses on that street in that area that are over the 6,000 square feet. And then in particular with this house, and the way it was designed with this lower level and the two protrusions above, was part of that was specifically geared towards the views from Pleasant Bay. So the idea being that the existing house that's there now is a fairly standard Cape house, at least from the water's edge. You see the sloping roof with one story below that. The proposed house was designed to maintain the same aesthetic. I know we're not looking at aesthetics, but in terms of aesthetics, it's using, on the upper levels there, we're using natural materials, wood shingles, etc., weathered to look much the same as the existing house that's there now. In the same light, the two protruding houses, or the upper levels, the two protrusions there, are designed so as not to create such a massing house like you see next door, but to create and keep sort of the same aesthetic that's there currently. I mean, if we look at, the existing house that's here now, I mean, it stands fairly proud because of the bank and how close it is to the bank. But as we pull this house back and provide the additional vegetation, which isn't even accounted for in this rendering, this is a photo of the existing bay as it is now in the bank now. It disappears further back into the canopies of the house, of the surrounding trees. So that was specifically designed to bring that back and blend further in rather than protruding out and again pulling it away from the bank for that reason again. So so that was, and at the same time, we didn't want to pull it too far back because, let's pull up some additional photos here. We didn't want to pull it too far away from the bank and towards the road because, again, we do have quite a bit of vegetation on the front side that blocks it from the road, which, for many of the neighbors, that may be equally as important as the view from the bay itself. So, I mean, when we're looking down, and many of these, we have kind of a combination of photos taken in the winter as well as photos taken in the summer. So even in the wintertime, this is looking down the existing driveway. Vegetation such as these trees and everything are all poised to remain. So you really have almost no view into the parcel from the street. And again, the idea was to, again, pull it back away from the bank, but to provide, one of the reasons why we can't really we don't want to pull it further, towards the street beyond any additional vegetation removal is that we do have a pretty good dip in topography down here to this low spot, and we try to minimize some, extreme grading that would be necessary for the driveway and parking lot, as well as the detached garage in that area as well. So just to emphasize that a good portion of this, what would be and qualifies under building, is essentially underground, with only, the front, facing Namaquoy Road, the front being exposed. And if I can just show, where's an elevation? The front of it exposed as you walk in. So when you're on the parking level, you're looking at the front, and we have the wall, the lower level with stairs that go up that bring you to what is essentially your ground level at this point. From here, your ground level is like in the backyard for Pleasant Bay, adjacent to Pleasant Bay, and then it slopes down towards the bank from there. So that's really the goal, is to minimize and provide much of the living space down below where it's out of sight and does not impact the character of the neighborhood, whereas up above, you have, relatively normal-sized protruding structures that are visible from, say, Pleasant Bay. So, I think there was a lot of care put into this design, knowing how sensitive the area is.
Jerry?
Yeah, David, I don't mean to prolong here, but I'm intrigued by your comments, frankly, because I have great respect for your experience and knowledge that far exceeds mine in this area. And I have a couple of questions, two questions. First of all, so if you had a huge lot and 10% was 70,000 square feet, it was 7,000 square feet or 8,000 square feet, you would not see any limit on the 10%. Is that?
No, all I'm saying is, I have always been of the mind that, I said, how did they come up with 4,000 square feet?
Right, yeah, right.
Where did that come from? And all I can say is, the change in the bylaw came after we adopted 40,000 square foot zoning.
Right.
And 10%,
I'm wondering if you went back then, if there were some examples of very large houses that had offended the community.
I don't know, but Orleans is the only town that has this trigger. Other towns, you have a lot area, and then you have a percentage of coverage that's allowed.
Yeah.
They don't have a figure, and so what I'm saying is, I don't think 10% is beyond normal for other towns' zoning regulations.
Yeah, all right. All right,
But that's just my take.
I know, but I'm not comfortable saying to somebody, you pay a lot of money for this lot and you can't build a house that you want. You know, it goes against my grain. But then I read the code, so I say to you, what are we supposed to do with that 4,000 number? Just ignore it?
And I may be wrong, but I sat through 2 hearings with the Conservation Commission where this project was thoroughly vetted and approved unanimously. And now I'm here, and I guess as I said, I don't have a problem with it, but for the applicant's sake, it's obvious you're on the fence, Bob is against it, Sibel may be for it, so I want to be able to give the applicant the opportunity to come back when there's a 5th member, and also give the applicant the opportunity to perhaps reduce it in size to make it more acceptable to some of you. That's where I'm coming from.
If that's where we are in the meeting, I'll move to allow the petitioner to file a motion to withdraw without prejudice at this point.
Could I ask
Well,
one
why,
question?
no, but before, so you're doing that because we already have 2 no votes, is what you're saying?
Well, we have one guy on the fence, it's me.
Yep.
We have one no, so he doesn't have his 4 votes. Even with me, he doesn't have his 4 votes.
But if we give him the opportunity to continue it, when there is a 5th member,
I'll continue it, all right.
and talk to the applicant, perhaps about reducing the size of it, I don't think we should say withdraw without prejudice. I think we should give the applicant the benefit of the doubt here.
I agree. I withdraw that, I agree.
Bob?
I would just point out, I know I'm beating a dead horse. I think ultimately this will get approved. But I would just point out, if you look at the back of the house, to give you a sense of how big this house is, how wide this house is, It's 26 feet, 2 inches from one property line, and it's 26 feet, 2 inches from the other property line. So the house is taking up the entire width of the lot, short of the required 25-foot setbacks plus 2 feet, 4 inches. I just, the residents of Orleans depend on us to try and protect their neighborhoods. And this one is particularly important because just a zillion boats go by there each summer. And when these things get built, they look fine on paper, but when they get built, people are gonna be saying, oh my gosh. And it's just, I don't know, I just don't think that's what the voters of Orleans want, but I have no problem with you trying to pick up the fourth vote and, postponing it. It's all fine with me.
Could I ask, please, your square footage, your calculation, does that include your decks, your terraces?
It does not include the decks.
Just the buildings alone?
It's just the building.
Which is the basement footprint, right?
It's-
Which is the largest footprint?
Yes, the basement footprint and the detached garage. So we have 460 square feet of this building coverage that's tied up with the detached garage.
Right, because then when you look at it, the
So when-
reason why it looks big too is because of that vast, the deck area, the base that's formed.
So when we look at the house by itself, we're at 5,895 square feet with the other 460 square feet tied up in the garage.
Right.
So we're not looking at a 6,300 square foot house, we're looking at a less than 6,000
Right,
square
but
foot house.
you need to include the garage, obviously, in that square footage, right?
Apropos of just being inflammatory, I heard a comment by someone about what's going on in Orleans as the Long Islandization of Orleans. And the individual indicated to me that, just like Long Island, you have these big mansions along the water, and then rather humble houses, ordinary houses in the town, setting up a Long Island feel, which is sort of an interesting, to me, that struck me as an I'm familiar with Long Island, that struck me as a sort of apropos observation. That doesn't add into the discussion, it just added a little.
So, what's your pleasure?
So, I mean, we are looking at.
You don't have the votes
Yeah,
tonight.
clearly we don't have the votes tonight. We'll be requesting a continuance. I guess I would like to inquire with the board, because right now we are at just over a 10% total lot coverage. We're, well shy of our 15% cap, and if we're at 10.2% now, and if we removed, let's say, the garage area, that 460 square feet, that would bring us under the 10%. So we would be somewhere hovering around 9.8, 9.9%. It is, based on a 4,000 square foot criteria for a special permit request, I guess it is difficult to judge where the threshold of acceptance is for a special permit over 4,000 square feet. Because we do need, again, because of the size of the family and the nature of the house that they want to construct, they do need some available space here. And, I mean, is it a matter of that we have a 4,000 foot cap essentially, which I guess at that point then we don't need a special permit. But if we're looking at, trying to meet somewhere in the middle, I guess I'm trying to gauge
So,
where the board is comfortable.
From my perspective, you've addressed the special permit criteria. That the 4,000 square foot trigger requires that you address all those criteria, and which I believe you have. And that's what we're supposed to be basing our decision on. The Conservation Commission has an aesthetic bylaw. They're concerned about what it looks like from the water, and you satisfied their concerns. That's why I don't have the same concern that Bob does. I am sympathetic with Bob because of the size of the house, and I appreciate where he's coming from, but I'm looking at it from the special permit criteria. Is this more detrimental to the neighborhood? No, not one neighbor has come in and said anything. To me, it's not visible from the road, and it's not gonna be much more visible from the water, so,
It is, David, it's going to be much more visible from the
Bob,
water.
I'm very familiar with this area
I
too.
know you are, but all I'm saying is that
But that's
they
not,
haven't met the criteria, in my opinion, because the bylaw specifically asks us to look at the impact on views and vistas.
Mhm.
So Pleasant Bay has got a heck of a lot more folks using it than the very limited number of houses out at Namaquoit Point. So I don't think we can throw that out. So all I'm saying
No,
is,
no,
I don't think I disagree
I don't
with you. I
disagree.
don't think he met the criteria. That's
Okay.
all I'm saying.
okay,
How
so,
about the neighborhood criteria? Could we define that more, and how many other houses, are at this size, and just to
Well,
get it?
Jerry did that, and he pointed out that the vast majority of them are
Small,
not.
but there are some, you said,
there are two others.
There are
There's the
two
one next
others
door and the
nearby.
one all the way at the end of the road on the point.
Right.
There's two others that are over 6,000 square feet,
Right.
and there's one other that's over the 4,000 square feet.
So I don't mean to belabor this. I think that,
My guess is come back, I think you'll probably,
no,
you'll get a fifth vote probably. You'll probably get 4 out of the 5.
he might get 3 out of the 5.
He might get 3 out of the 5.
And that's a failure. No, it's a super majority. He
Yeah,
needs
okay,
4.
yeah, he needs 4,
That's
yeah.
why we're giving him the opportunity
Come back.
to
And
come
my
back.
point is, he'll have a better chance of getting the 4th vote.
He might if he reduces it to some extent.
Well, no, it's very possible that the 2 missing members will be just like Sibel and David and think you're fine. So it's just really a case of waiting.
but if it's possible to reduce it, I don't think there's anything, I think that's a very positive way to approach the project, reduce the size.
We can certainly,
Because when you
talk to
look
the
at it, you do
applicants.
have so many, you're looking to create like little cottages almost, it seems like, attached cottages. So there's so many stairs, so many spaces that you could actually, shrink it down and keep to the same concept, I would say, if possible.
We can look at that.
You don't design obviously for you, but it seems like it's possible.
Jerry?
Just a matter of procedure, David. Have we asked if, there are people who are listening online, I can see it here. Have we asked for public comment in this?
We have not. Is there anybody online, Mia, no, excuse me, Peggy, for public comment?
There's a few hands raised. I've let some of them in. It looks like William Jacob is raising his hand.
Mr. Jacob?
Yes,
Please proceed.
I'm trying to get my, audio's good, right? Yes. I believe my older sister, Kate McKay, is on this Zoom. Our family owns number 1 Kingsbury Lane, number 5 Kingsbury Lane, so the 2 properties to the north, basically. Been there forever and ever. The Fairings are, in general, lovely neighbors. I don't know them well, but, it's a nice community, and my parents always liked them. So, as someone that's been going there for over 60 years, the big house at the end, which I think was said was a 6,200 or something, it's a big house. The other house that the Fairings have is a big house. This looks to be another big house. I don't know all the rules and regulations and square footage and stuff, but it's getting pretty congested down there. I guarantee it'll impact the view from the water. And I had a general question. So my view is it just seems like a little bit out of place and a little bit too large. I believe that a large, maybe 20-plus acre parcel was donated recently for conservation to go at the end of Kingsbury Lane all the way out at the point. And I'm just wondering how, if that will impact any of the travel along with this third over 6,000 square foot home. So you've mentioned a few times no neighbors have come forward. We've got Georgia and Hawaii. It's hard to come forward, but I believe I'm speaking for my sisters. We're a little concerned with the size.
I don't know how to answer your question about the parcel all the way at the end of the road. I don't think that would impact if it's going under conservation restriction or in conservation. I don't think that's going to impact the traffic on the road, but I do appreciate your comments.
You're right, David. The access to that is very limited as a condition of the gift, and it would be off Viking Road, not Nemacolin.
Okay. So to answer your question, that won't impact traffic flow or pedestrian safety, but you have anything else to say, Mr. Jacob?
I don't think so. My sister might have just texted me. No, I think that's it. Just a general opinion and view.
Okay, that's what we're here for. We're here to hear the neighbors. That's one of the reasons they create the zoning board. Is there anybody else with their hands up? Peggy?
I believe Chad had his hands up. I'm not sure if he still wants to speak.
Yeah,
Chad
can
is
everybody
the
hear me?
architect for the project.
Hi, so my name is Chad Mitchell. I'm the architect for the project. And I just wanted to jump on and try to just add a little color to the design and the intent behind it. I think Robert did a great job of explaining it. But our intent was to do a very respectful design for this property. And I don't know what boards Robert has there because I can't really see those on my end. But the house is intended to be very similar to what's there right now. It's a Cape Cod style home. It's not intended to be a modern design. It has a peaked roof, very much like the existing home does. And it's clad in wood shingle siding, like the homes in Cape Cod and like some of the homes that are along the street here. The view from the bay on that side, there's one story of visible home above grade there. And it's only, Robert maybe could clarify.
Robert brought up,
Maybe.
he just put out the picture for us. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, maybe it's 1 or 2 feet higher than the existing home and is pushed back. So it'll be as or less visible from the bay than the existing home. One of the opportunities, as I understand the lot coverage, is that it's a coverage of the building itself on site. So we've tried to keep it low to the ground, which means that the footprint is a little bit wider, but I believe that a different approach to this property, which we tried to avoid, was to do a compact footprint with more levels of height. So as I understand the way the building coverage is measured, we could do a 4,000 square foot footprint.
And add another floor. Yes, you could. You could add another floor to it and avoid zoning.
And we lost him.
Are you still there?
I guess I can pick up a little where you left off on that, but yes, we did look at adding, going more vertical with a more compact footprint, but doing a wider, lower footprint like we have here, and particularly it's kind of splitting it to break kind of the overall mass of it by providing that break.
I know, the look of that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, It kept the same, one-story cape aesthetic as what's there currently, from Pleasant Bay at least.
But the base does, stand out, basically.
Right.
Correct, but only on the street side, and you'll see, this is an incomplete rendering, like these stairs here are not accurate, but the ground would slope away a little bit, so you would see a little bit of protrusion from, if you were in the backyard, you wouldn't see it from the breakover angle of like, the bank, from the bay, unless you were maybe way out in the bay, but the idea being that you only see that lower level from the front side of the house, like the Namaquoit Road side of the house. You don't see that from Pleasant Bay.
Is there anybody else online that can connect, Peggy?
We lost Peggy
I
too.
think we've lost Peggy too.
There are three others, well, Chad, there's two others, Kate, who must be the sister of Mr. Jacob.
Sorry, guys, no hands raised.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, I think we've pretty much covered everything from our perspective and yours. Would you like to continue it?
Yes, at this point, we'd like to request the continuance.
We meet on the first and third Wednesday of every month.
I guess at this point, I'm assuming you're assuming the remaining members will be here on the next hearing at the end of the month.
No, but if you wanted to continue it to the next meeting, we can certainly have the board secretary let you know, and you would have the opportunity to continue it again
Certainly.
if necessary. But I think you've heard the dichotomy of opinions we have going here, and
David, just a point of housekeeping, Martin has indicated he will not be back for next week.
so then it would. So in Austin is on maternity leave, so I don't know when Austin's coming back.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we will find out,
Okay.
and we have your contact information. Would you like to continue it to our next hearing?
I guess
Or-
for the purposes of tonight, we'll continue to the next hearing, so we
Okay.
have that up. We'll certainly discuss with the applicants the concerns raised tonight.
Okay.
And,
Of us and the abutters.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if we feel that we need to continue it prior to the next hearing, based on your anticipated attendance on the board, we can certainly do that at that time.
We'll make sure that you know the numbers
Yeah.
that we expect to have.
That works.
Okay, could I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to continue to March I don't have a calendar in front of me.
I've got my clock.
Sibel's looking.
For the third Wednesday, March 18th.
March 18th. Thank you, Davis.
We need to do a roll call vote on that, David.
Oh, right. All in favor?
Aye.
Sibel, aye. David, aye.
Bob, aye.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much.
Need a motion to adjourn, David?
Please.
How about the meeting minutes, no?
We did the meeting, Bob did the meeting minutes.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Yes,
Second.
second,
All in favor?
yes.
Aye. Okay.